April 1st, 2023 is a day that I will never forget and ultimately changed my entire life. I got laid off from my 9-to-5 corporate job. My employer told me that due to financial and economic constraints, my role was being eliminated, and in a month's time, they could no longer afford my salary. February 20th, 2020. Almost 3 years before that day, I bought my first ever drone, the DJI Mini 1. It's crazy to think how many drones have come out since then, but that was the day that I posted my first drone photo and also crashed my drone that same day for the very first time. But little did I know that that moment is what was preparing me for this moment almost 3 years later. When I got fired, I was only making about $40,000 a year from content creation. It was my side hustle, my passion project, my gigs that I did on the weekend. It was something that I hoped would be my full-time job one day, but that day seemed so far off into the distant future. And suddenly I was put in a position where I had to decide, is that day going to be now? Because you see, for most of my life, I did everything that I was supposed to do. I went to university for 5 years. I went and got my CPA designation. I tried to form and pave a successful corporate career. Because you see, growing up, I didn't come from much. We didn't have a lot, and I was okay with that. But I knew that as long as I put in the hard work and I went to school, that eventually I could raise my overall quality of life. And that's exactly what I did. See, the thing is that when you come from nothing and you've seemingly made it, as in the Canadian or the American dream, you have a roof over your head, you're able to put food on the table, you have a car to take you places, and you have the luxury to sort of enjoy your life and do things, you'll do anything to stay there. It's very difficult to go backwards. But you see, the part that really hurt was that feeling of being thrown away. And anyone that's ever been fired will definitely understand what that feels like. You feel like your work and your self-esteem and your self-importance doesn't matter. You're disposable, you're replaceable. The next person through the door is gonna start doing what you were doing for that company previously, where you were making someone else's dreams come true. And that moment just changed my entire perspective and my entire way of thinking. I didn't like the fact that I wasn't in control of my own destiny, that someone could just walk into my life and change everything in just one day because they felt like they needed to change their bottom line or save money somewhere, or that maybe I wasn't doing as good of a job as they hoped, and that small decision would change my entire life. And so in that moment, I realized that this corporate career that I spent my entire life paving and trying to be successful within, I couldn't go back to, because I just didn't feel like I could work for anyone else ever again. And so all of a sudden, I found myself floating in space in this uncharted territory that I had never been in before. And that's some scary shit, man. Like, when you don't know where your next paycheck is gonna come from or what you're gonna do next, you see, everyone usually has a life plan. I'm gonna get this job, I'm gonna sort of progress through the ladder, and one day I'll be the CFO or the president. And sure, maybe I had those aspirations before as well, but all of a sudden, that path that was laid out in front of me was gone, and I really didn't know what was next for my life. And so at 30 years old, I decided I was gonna become a content creator. At 30, I decided I was gonna flip my entire life upside down, and I was gonna try and do this thing. And I honestly had no idea how I was gonna do it, but I had just decided that this is what I wanted to do. And I'm the type of person that once I make up my mind or I make a decision, I'm gonna try and get there and achieve it, or I'm gonna die trying. And man, I had a lot of bills to pay. I had car payments, rent, I'm married, I gotta put food on the table. So it's a scary situation to be in when you don't know where your next paycheck is gonna come from. But once I made that decision, and I don't know if you wanna call it luck or if you wanna call it destiny, but so many doors started to open up for me. I suddenly started to work with all the brands that I had dreamed of working with. I had started to work with brands like Samsung and Apple and Google and Adobe, and of course the brand that started it all, DJI. And this was all of a sudden, it just all happened at once, because for the past few months and years, I had spent so much time DMing and emailing brands and never hearing back from them. And all of a sudden they were reaching out to me. Brands that I had never even reached out to wanted to work with me. And it was a very surreal feeling, because I was starting to become that content creator that I would look up to, and suddenly people were looking up to me. It's a very weird feeling to put into words, and something that you have to really experience for yourself. And speaking of brands, this video is sponsored by Artlist. And I want to truly thank Artlist for being one of the brands that support me, because without them, none of this would have been possible. In fact, even this video that you're watching right now without Artlist wouldn't have been possible. All of the B-roll that you've seen was actually pulled from their 4K library of stock footage. Now, generally, I would have had to go out and hire some actors, do some location scouting, maybe rent some gear to get all of these high quality assets to help tell my story better. But thanks to Artlist, I didn't have to do any of that. They actually make making YouTube videos and videos like this so much easier and possible for anyone. When I first started, I didn't really have access to a service like this. So Artlist has really changed the way that I approach my storytelling and the way that I make all of my videos. The best part is that these videos and these assets and these B-roll pieces that I'm using in this video are all license free, meaning that my video is not going to get flagged for any copyright strikes, and it's not going to get taken down, and I'm free to use it in any way that I want. And it just doesn't stop at stock footage. All of the music and the sound effect, like the whooshes and the swishes that you've heard in this video, were all taken from Artlist. Even some of the templates and the titles that you've seen across this video were also from Artlist. So huge shout out for Artlist for helping me make this video way easier to make. And if this has inspired you to go sign up for Artlist, I'm gonna have a link below in the description somewhere, which you can use to get 2 months free as a thank you from me for always supporting me and supporting this channel. And I just hope you enjoy your Artlist membership, and it makes making your videos a lot easier. So once again, huge thank you for Artlist for helping me make this video. And so getting back to my story, once brands like Artlist started to sponsor me and to reach out to me, the whole direction of my life changed. I suddenly started traveling the world creating content for brands. One of my dreams of seeing an active volcano in Iceland came true. I started going to brand events and PR events all across the world where companies were releasing new products and new cars, and I really couldn't believe that I was all of a sudden in this situation that I had once dreamed of being in. I started hosting photography workshops, and I was on lives with huge accounts like Samsung, watching or being a part of things that I used to see on TV. I was now a part of. People started reaching out to me and asking me for my recommendations on what drones or what cameras they wanted to buy. It was super weird, because I was the one that was looking at other people's videos just a few months ago, deciding what camera I should get or what drone I should get or what settings that I needed to change, and suddenly I was the expert. And people wanted to ask me for free cameras and free drones, and obviously we're not there yet. But hopefully maybe one day we will be, where we can give away free cameras and free drones to you guys. And before I knew it, this was my life. I was a full-time content creator. And now it's been a full year. I recently hit 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, and if you told me I would be here a year ago, I definitely would not have believed you. We recently just passed 200,000 followers on Instagram, and we're getting close to 200,000 on TikTok. So any of you that have ever supported me in any way, if you've ever liked a post, if you've ever shared anything, if you've ever commented, saved, DM me, subscribed, whatever it was, even to those who are just lurking and scrolling by, I want to truly thank you from the bottom of my heart, because none of this would be possible without you. Because of you, I get to live out my dream of being a full-time content creator. And to my employer who let me go a year ago, thank you. None of this would have been ever possible without you.